It amazes me that to convince black people that Donald Trump cares about them, he takes pictures with celebrities.
Part of that is starting off with Snoop Dogg and Nelly instance to perform at events surrounding the inauguration.
Remember when Snoop Dogg said he'd never perform for Donald Trump? Yeah, that was a lie, because this week the internet watched in shock as the same man who once clowned others for doing it walked on stage at a Trump event himself.
The important thing is there's got to be a solution.
And that's when DL Hughley stepped in and lit the match. He didn't just call Snoop out, he exposed him, pulled out the receipts, and suddenly, the man everyone saw as hip-hop's uncle was being called something else entirely, a sellout. But here's the thing, this isn't just about one performance. Behind the memes, the posts, and the outrage, there's a deeper story, one that ties back to Suge Knight, old death row secrets, and years of rumors most people were too scared to say out loud, because this might not just be hypocrisy, it might be exposure. Nobody saw it coming. Snoop Dogg, the man who once called anyone performing for Trump an Uncle Tom Ninja, just did the very thing he swore he never would. Cameras flashing, crowd cheering, and there he was standing under red, white, and blue lights. It didn't take long for the internet to explode. One photo, that's all it took. Within hours, timelines were filled with disbelief. Memes, edits, and tweets flooded in like a digital riot.
For whole years, for decades. And at the same time, nobody wants this to be true.
Fans were asking the same question over and over. Why now? Why would Snoop, of all people, suddenly flip like that? Then DL Hughley stepped in, and everything went nuclear. He reposted the old 2017 clip of Snoop roasting rappers who performed for Trump and simply wrote, "So, what changed?" It was the shot heard around hip-hop. That one post cracked the internet open. Suddenly, everyone was replaying old interviews, old lyrics, and old alliances. The same man who built career on rebellion, on never folding, was now being accused of doing the exact thing he mocked others for.
I'm gonna be the first one to do it. I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the one of you. Crypto, see? They let a real crip up in the crypto ball. Bang, bang.
People weren't just mad, they felt betrayed. Like the culture's favorite uncle had just switched sides in public. But here's where it gets wild. This wasn't just hypocrisy. This performance may have opened a door Snoop's been trying to keep closed for years. Because once DL lit that fuse, old rumors started crawling back out of the shadows. Suge Knight, death row, the whispers about loyalty, betrayal, and survival. And the more people looked, the messier it got. Because this story, it's only just getting started. DL Hughley didn't just call Snoop out, he exposed him. He went straight for the jugular. One clip, one caption, and the internet went into meltdown. The 2017 video of Snoop mocking artists who performed for the other side. DL threw it right back in his face. No long speech, just a quiet question that screamed louder than any diss track. Still feel the same way now. That's when things got ugly. Fans who grew up idolizing Snoop were suddenly dragging him through the dirt. The comments turned ruthless, sellout, phony, corporate puppet. People weren't laughing this time. They felt betrayed because for decades, Snoop represented authenticity, the smooth-talking rebel who spoke for the streets. Now, it looked like he traded that image for something that didn't fit. But here's what made DL's call-out sting harder. It wasn't random. He's been saying for years that too many legends forget where they came from once the cameras start loving them. And watching Snoop, the same man who once clowned everyone for chasing clout, now doing exactly that, felt like watching a hero crumble in real time. It wasn't just embarrassment, it was disappointment. Fans started digging deeper, replaying old interviews, watching his old death row moments, and asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud. Has Snoop been faking it this whole time? Because if DL's right, this isn't just about one performance. It's about a mask that's finally slipping, and what's underneath might change everything. When DL Hughley's post blew up, it did more than spark outrage. It cracked open a vault people thought was sealed years ago, because buried under all the memes and headlines was a name that never stays quiet for long. Suge Knight, the former death row boss, has been throwing shade at Snoop for years, even from behind bars. But this time, his old words started resurfacing, and they hit different. In one interview, Suge said straight up, "Snoop ain't who y'all think he is." He claimed Snoop had been playing both sides since day one, smiling with Pac in public while cutting separate deals in private. Back then, most fans brushed it off as Suge being bitter. But now, with Snoop's latest moves, people started listening again. Clips from old interviews went viral. Suge talking about loyalty, betrayal, and how some of the biggest names in hip-hop weren't as real as they looked. And suddenly, fans began connecting dots they'd ignored for years. Think about it. Every major storm in Snoop's career somehow missed him. When death row collapsed, he slid out untouched. When the beefs got dangerous, he stayed clean. When the industry turned on others, he stayed everyone's favorite uncle. Lucky, maybe. Protected, possibly. But the timing of everything felt too perfect. The more people looked, the more it seemed like every controversy circled back to him. Like Snoop was always one step ahead of the fire. Now fans were wondering, was this all strategy or something else entirely? Because if Suge was right and Snoop really learned how to survive by switching sides, then maybe this latest scandal isn't new behavior. Maybe it's just who he's always been. Once Suge Knight's old words Word started spreading. The internet did what it always does. It turned into a crime scene. Clips, screenshots, and interviews were being dissected frame by frame. Reddit threads, TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns. Everyone suddenly became a detective in the case of who was the real Snoop Dogg. Fans started noticing a pattern. Every time something heavy hit the industry, Snoop somehow came out spotless. The label wars, the beefs, the legal chaos. Everyone else took the fall, but not him. People started asking the question out loud. Why does Snoop never get touched? One viral post said it best. Everybody around him caught smoke, but he's been walking through fire for 30 years with no burns. That line hit millions because it didn't sound like luck anymore. It sounded like strategy. Digging deeper, fans pulled up old stories. Rumors about deals, sudden friendships, unexplained disappearances from labels. Stuff that didn't make sense until now. And once you start looking for patterns, you find them everywhere. His shift from death row to the mainstream. How he went from the most feared name in rap to hosting TV shows, selling cereal, and cooking with Martha Stewart. For some, it was evolution. For others, it was evidence. And as more coincidences started stacking up, theories started forming. Wild ones. Some said he was always one step ahead because he had help. Others claimed he learned how to survive in an industry built on silence. But one thing everyone agreed on, this story was no longer about a performance. It was about reputation, about how far a legend would go to protect his image. And the next piece of the puzzle, that came straight from DL Hughley himself. DL Hughley didn't just expose a contradiction, he exposed a pattern. Because behind all the jokes and headlines, his message cut deep. Fame changes people, and Snoop might be the perfect example. When DL reposted that old clip, he didn't rant, didn't curse. He just let Snoop's own words do the talking. And that silence hit harder than any diss track ever could. It wasn't about clout, it was about accountability. See, DL's been saying for years that too many artists start real and end up polished, trading honesty for headlines. And when it comes to Snoop, that switch has never looked more obvious. The man who once stood for rebellion is now the face of every brand in the world, from gangster rap to breakfast cereal. That's not evolution, that's image control. Fans started realizing something. Maybe DL's post wasn't just calling Snoop out. Maybe he was warning everyone watching. This is what happens when fame becomes more important than authenticity. Because when you build a career on being real, one false move can erase decades. And that's what this moment felt like. A crack in the mask. Snoop's calm reaction, his jokes online, his silence about the backlash. It didn't read like confidence anymore. It looked like someone trying to keep control of a story that's slipping away. But here's where the tension builds. DL's post was just a spark. What came next turned a simple call-out into a cultural earthquake. Because once the internet picked sides, things got personal fast. The internet didn't just react, it erupted. Half the culture was furious, the other half confused. Fans who once saw Snoop as the definition of real couldn't believe what they were seeing. One comment summed it up perfectly. We watched Snoop go from the voice of the streets to the mascot of the system. The memes were brutal, the edits even worse. Old interviews of him clowning others were now being remixed with clips of his performance, side by side. Hypocrisy on loop. Even fans who defended him had trouble explaining it. Some said it was just business, others said it was survival, but deep down, everyone could feel it. Something about this didn't sit right, because this wasn't just about music, this was about credibility. Snoop built his legend on loyalty to the West Coast, to death row, to the code. But suddenly, that loyalty looked negotiable, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Old stories started resurfacing. Whispers about death row secrets, about betrayals no one wanted to speak on. DL Hughley's post had triggered something bigger than a viral moment. It had reopened the question, who is Snoop Dogg really loyal to? Celebrities stayed quiet. Industry vets pretended not to notice, but fans were relentless. One tweet that went viral said, Snoop's not canceled, he's questioned. And that's worse, because when your entire brand is built on being authentic, doubt spreads faster than hate. And while the world was busy debating if Snoop had sold out or smartened up, something else started brewing in the background. Something darker, because just as this storm hit, a familiar name popped back up, one that turned speculation into full-blown suspicion. Once the internet got a taste of blood, it didn't stop at calling Snoop a hypocrite. It started building a theory, a wild one. Threads popped up everywhere, dissecting every quiet moment, every old quote, every time Snoop somehow dodged the chaos that swallowed everyone else. Fans noticed something strange. No matter how wild things got in the industry, Snoop always landed on his feet. Every time. Lawsuits, beefs, scandals. He walked away spotless. One viral post said, Snoop's like Teflon, nothing ever sticks. And that's when the conspiracies began. Some said he's protected. Others claimed he made silent deals behind the scenes. A few swore that his image was built by powerful people who needed him to stay untouchable, the face of cool, no matter what happened. It sounds insane, but once the internet locks onto a theory, it spreads faster than truth ever could. Clips from old interviews started reappearing. People pointing out how Snoop always laughed off serious questions, how he knew when to disappear and when to show up again. Every shrug, every smile, suddenly, it all looked calculated. The deeper fans dug, the weirder it got. Some connected dots between his sudden rebranding into family-friendly TV and his clean escape from hip-hop's darkest chapters. Others believed the industry industry's been protecting him because he knows too much, and that's what kept everyone hooked. The mystery. Nobody knew what was real anymore. Was Snoop just smarter than everyone else? Or was there something bigger behind his luck? Because one thing was certain, silence doesn't kill rumors, it feeds them. And as Snoop stayed quiet, the internet only got louder. Right now, the world isn't asking what Snoop did, it's asking who he really is. For decades, he's been untouchable, the calm in hip-hop's chaos. But when the smoke cleared from this latest storm, something changed. Fans stopped laughing, the internet stopped defending, and suddenly, everyone wanted answers. Because this wasn't just a hit to his reputation, it was a hit to his identity. The same man who built a career preaching loyalty and realness is now being questioned on both. Every brand deal, every public appearance, every joke online, it all feels different now. Like people are looking for cracks in a statue they once thought was unbreakable. And that's the danger of being a legend. The higher you climb, the louder the silence sounds when you stop talking. Snoop hasn't said much, no explanations, no apologies, just a few cryptic posts and smiles. Maybe that's confidence, or maybe it's distance, the kind that happens when someone's not sure which version of themselves the world wants to see anymore. Because when the cameras fade and the noise dies down, there's only one question left. Was Snoop's rise built on reinvention or survival? Did he evolve with the times, or just learn how to play every side long enough to stay on top? Whatever the truth is, one thing's for sure, this moment changed everything. The culture that once crowned him as untouchable is now watching him like never before. And until Snoop speaks for himself, one thought keeps echoing across the internet. We loved him for being one of us, but what if he never really was? Snoop's silence is starting to sound louder than words. No statements, no interviews, just smiles, smoke, and business as usual. But when a legend's name gets dragged this deep, silence doesn't calm the storm, it feeds it. Every day that passes without a response, the theories grow. Fans read into everything, a caption, a photo, even the tone of his voice. It's like the internet's built a magnifying glass over his every move. And the wild part, he's acting like he doesn't even see it. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Snoop's playing the same game he always has, staying one step ahead, letting time do the talking. It's worked before. Whenever things got messy, he just waited it out. People moved on, and Snoop came out smiling. But this time feels different, because this isn't the 90s. The internet never forgets. Receipts live forever, and contradictions get replayed until the truth starts to feel obvious. And for someone who's built a legacy on being untouchable, the one thing Snoop can't afford right now is doubt. Still, there's something eerie about how calm he seems. Almost like he knows something everyone else doesn't. Like he's already seen this storm before and survived it. Maybe that's the secret behind every legend, knowing when to talk and when to vanish. But this time, the culture isn't waiting for answers. It's demanding them, because in 2025, silence doesn't protect you, it exposes you. At this point, Snoop's story doesn't even feel like a controversy anymore. It feels like a mirror, a reflection of what happens when legends live long enough to outgrow their own image. Because the truth is, nobody stays untouchable forever. Not even Snoop Dogg. For years, he was hip-hop's cool uncle, the one everyone loved, the one who made it out clean. But now, that same chill vibe feels different. Every laugh, every brand deal, every moment of silence, people are reading between the lines. The same smoothness that once made him untouchable now makes him suspicious. It's wild, because we built Snoop up like a myth, larger than life, beyond flaw. But the longer this goes on, the more human he starts to look. The contradictions, the rebrands, the quiet escapes, they don't erase his legacy, but they change how we see it. And maybe that's what stings the most, because when you've been real for so long, one move that feels fake can rewrite everything. Fans aren't asking for perfection, they're asking for truth. They just want to know if the man behind the legend still stands for what he used to. And that's the irony. The same world that crowned him king is now the one questioning his throne. But here's the twist. Maybe that's what keeps him alive in the first place. The mystery, the contradictions, the fact that no one ever really knows which version of Snoop they're getting. Maybe that's his final trick, staying unpredictable enough that you can't ever pin him down. But one thing's for sure, once the mask cracks, it never looks the same again. So now the question isn't just about what Snoop did, it's about what it means. Is this the moment a legend finally slipped, or just another chapter in a career built on survival? Because no matter how you see it, this story says one thing loud and clear. Even icons can get caught in their own image. The real ones never fake it, but the fakes always get found out. So what do you think? Is Snoop still the smooth legend we grew up with, or has the game finally caught up to him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you're locked in, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories the industry doesn't want told, because this one might be over, but the next one, it's already brewing.